What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Conor McGregor goes off on fighters for steroids. When news recently surfaced indicating that Bellator MMA's Usman Nurmagomedov had been suspended 6 months for a failed drug test, many fans theorized that it was only a matter of time before former two-division champion Conor McGregor weighed in. Although Nurmagomedov's failed drug test was for a prescription medication rather than anabolic steroids, for example, McGregor didn't hold back. In a post on social media, he wrote, "I am not one bit surprised upon hearing another of the Nurmagomedov team testing positive for steroids. Hypocrites of the highest order." Given that he had previously taken aim at Islam Makhachev for a failed drug test several years ago, McGregor didn't hesitate to follow up his original post with another, writing, "P-brains inbreds on steroids," along with a picture of 20-year-old Islam Makhachev. The Irish star's most scathing and controversial post about the subject was the third. He wrote, "Steroids are haram. The shame of Allah hangs over the Nurmagomedov clan. Cheaters. Abdul Manap is doing tumbles in his grave." The tweets divided the MMA community, with many members questioning why McGregor had to bring up Abdul Manap Nurmagomedov once again, with Daniel Cormier predicting that the UFC will look to book a McGregor vs. Makhachev fight, if at all possible. This rivalry may be getting ready to heat up once more. Next up, let's take a look at Jiri Prochazka breaks silence on stoppage. In the main event of UFC 295, Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira clashed in a highly anticipated battle of strikers for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. In the second round, momentum quickly swung Glory Hall of Famer Alex Pereira's way when he landed a pair of hooks that landed clean on the Czech Samurai. After following up with a flurry of strikes on the ground, the fight was called off, with Pereira being declared the winner. Immediately, many questioned the stoppage, including Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier in the broadcasting booth. In the wake of the fight, Prochazka shared his thoughts on the stoppage in a message to his fans on Instagram.
"Hello everyone, I just want to say to all of you, thank you for your support. This is for me just a motivation, nothing else. Mark Goddard was right, maybe 2-3 more seconds and it would be on different way, but happen what happened. I accept that. Watch me now. I'll be back, stronger than ever. Thank you for your support."
For Prochazka, the fight was his first since suffering a devastating shoulder injury that forced him to the sidelines. On the heels of the loss, he seems eager to get back to action and return to the win column. For Pereira, UFC CEO Dana White indicated after the event that his next opponent will be Jamal Hill whenever the former champ is ready to return to the octagon. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Tom Aspinall reveals shocking news. When Tom Aspinall's fight with Sergey Pavlovich was announced after the withdrawal of Jon Jones, the heavyweight contender set out to follow in the footsteps of Michael Bisping before him and capture UFC gold on short notice. Saturday night in New York, Aspinall put on the performance of a lifetime, knocking out Pavlovich in the very first round, earning himself the interim UFC heavyweight title. After the fight, the newly minted interim heavyweight champ spoke with Larasenko backstage, where he revealed some shocking news.
"I actually pulled my back and didn't really train at all. So I injured it on the first week after I found out about the fight So I found out about the fight, I can't remember. I've not been able to train for like the last week and a half."
When asked at what moment he realized that he'd be able to go out and get the job done, Aspinall flashed a grin and said that he wasn't sure until the night of the fight. With Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic expected to fight when the heavyweight champ is ready to return to the octagon, Aspinall is hoping to remain active and defend the interim belt once his back heals up. Next, let's take a look at UFC updates. On the heels of an action-packed night of fights in New York, let's take a look at today's UFC updates, starting with a light heavyweight scrap between Dominic Reyes and Carlos Ulberg, which has been announced for UFC 297 in January. The event will take place in Canada, and we'll see Sean Strickland look to make his first successful title defense on the card, where Ulberg will be looking to make it 6 straight, and Reyes will be looking to snap a 4-fight skid that has seen him go winless since 2019. After UFC 295, Dana White also dropped 2 big bits of news for the new year, indicating that a bout between Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira likely won't take place until next summer, given that Makhachev isn't interested in fighting until March, and the UFC needs a pay-per-view headliner for the summer. The news has left many fans wondering whether the fight will be headlining International Fight Week in July. However, the UFC has time before they worry about an International Fight Week headliner. The other bit of info revealed by White was that the UFC has officially booked the Las Vegas Sphere for the 2024 Noche UFC card in September. After White previously expressed his desire to hold an event inside the Sphere, it sounds as though he will get his wish before the end of 2024, predicting an epic night of action at the UFC 295 post-fight press conference, stating,
"Remember that I said this to you tonight. I'm going to put on the greatest live combat sports show anybody has ever seen."
Next, let's take a look at MMA Community Goes Off on Stipe Miocic. Although Stipe Miocic's fight with Jon Jones ended up getting scrapped from UFC 295, the former heavyweight champ was in attendance at the event in New York. As he arrived, Miocic appeared to be walking with a slight limp, resulting in a plethora of jokes from the MMA community. Accompanied by the video of Miocic arriving for the event, one fan wrote, "Jesus, I thought Jones pulled out of the fight with an injury. Stipe walking like he just had a hip removed." Another fan chimed in writing, "Stipe limping. He would have got killed by Jones. Thank God that fight didn't happen, lol." Given that the expectation is Jones and Miocic will clash in 2024, another fan was quick to write, "Johnny Bones, yeah man, I'm betting my year's worth on you, my man." Another fan was quick to write, "Are you sure that Jon Jones pulled out and not him?" One fan theorized that Jones was aging Miocic out of their fight, given that Miocic will likely be approaching 42 by the time the pair fight, writing, "Jon Jones is aging him out." Although there's been no news about when Jones and Miocic will fight, Dana White has indicated that the pair will compete in 2024, meaning Miocic will look to stay in shape between now and then. Next, let's take a look at Dana White provides update on Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Heading into UFC 295, Dana White made it clear that Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic would fight when Jones was ready to return to action. After an action-packed night of fights, White reiterated that the clash between the greatest heavyweight of all time and the greatest mixed martial artist of all time was still the fight to make. While speaking to media members after the event in New York City, White revealed that Jones is already in physical therapy and progressing towards a return. The big question, of course, is whether Jones and Miocic will retire after the fight, or the winner can be persuaded to stick around and unify the heavyweight title.
I had lunch the other day with Stipe, and Stipe is very focused. Listen, it's one of those fights you have the best heavyweight of all time versus the greatest martial artist of all time. That's the fight they want. It's the fight that makes sense. It's the fight that should happen. And I asked Stipe that question. He says, "I don't even know. All I care about right now is Jon Jones. It's the only thing I'm focused on. I want this fight really bad."
With Jones facing a long road back to recovery, his return to the octagon will certainly go down as one of the biggest events of the year when it takes place. Next up, let's take a look at Alex Pereira under fire for call-out. After his second round win over Jiri Prochazka in the main event of UFC 295, Alex Pereira called out his longtime rival Israel Adesanya, stating that the last stylebender motivated him to be great years ago, when he said that one day Pereira would see him on TV and tell everyone at the bar how he beat him in kickboxing. Now, with Adesanya teasing a hiatus until 2027, Poatan wants to motivate his longtime rival to return to the octagon for a highly anticipated trilogy bout. The call-out didn't sit well with former champion Jan Blachowicz, who took to social media with an uncharacteristic call-out of his own, writing, "I know you're a slimy one, calling out Izzy, great performance and all, but shut the f*** up. We have unfinished business, you and I. The judges won't give you handouts next time. Pathetic." Of course, with Dana White stating that Pereira will defend his belt against Jamal Hill next, a trilogy fight is unlikely to materialize. Hill, who was sitting cage-side in New York, was not impressed with Pereira's victory. He spoke in an interview with TNT Sports about Poatan's performance, stating,
"I think the stoppage was a little early. Maybe they could have let it go a little bit more, let a champion give a chance to defend himself a little bit more. But all in all, he landed good shots. It was kind of back and forth, but all in all, I just think like I'm on a different level than what I saw."
As Hill revealed, he'll be ready to jump into training camp come January, meaning a clash between the two could take place before next summer, depending on how the UFC schedule shakes out after UFC 300. The MMA community goes off on Joe Rogan for being biased in his commentary for UFC 295. During the fight between Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira, Rogan called an early stoppage and fans did not agree. Here's what they had to say to Rogan. "It's hilarious how Rogan and DC were whining about early stoppage and Jiri said, 'Nope, I was out.' Rogan never ceased to show he's biased as a nut hugger. Should all feel ashamed of themselves for making the narrative of the fight being an an early stoppage. Maybe it was, but that isn't your call to make. You aren't referees. Very disrespectful to the men in the cage. Shame on you. Congrats. Prochazka was classy in defeat and completely shut down that early stoppage narrative that Joe Rogan kept pushing. Really disappointed with DC and Joe Rogan and Anik banging on about the early stoppage for Jiri, even after he'd come out and said he was out cold. These guys always glorify takedowns to win a round too. Have a word. No one pushes a false narrative during commentary like you. Pushing narrative the stoppage was too early because you don't know shit. The fighter literally proceeded to say, yeah, I was out. This bozo does cramp like this every single pay-per-view. Immediately after the fight, the roach Joe Rogan tried to denigrate his win, just to brainwash the viewers, even though he got elbowed 20 times and didn't defend or throw anything back to Alex. It wasn't an early stoppage. You Caucasians just wanted Alex to win. Top comments. Dana White is the type of dude to put out a 165-pound belt on UFC 300 just so Conor can fight for a belt, lol. Izzy completely ignores how many times Alex beat him. He wouldn't want to fight him again. Odds are he would lose again. Could you imagine seeing a bunch of protesters outside of a van, hitting the van, trying to break the windows, and all of a sudden, the door opens and there stands Jamal Hill, Robbie Lawler? Them two alone would be unreal to see come out of the van as hell, and ready to whoop LMAO. What's next for Alex Pereira? Damn, buddy's had the belt for 16 hours. Chill. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.